What's up, War Report family? It's the weekend. It's the day after Hugh Freeze put a 59 burger on UMass in his debut. How do we feel about it? Let's talk about it on the weekend tailgate.
This is the weekend tailgate. Brought to you by Golden Cast Iron. C-Dub. Ike Joe. Be Will. Mike G. You are now listening to.
What's up, War Report family? It's your weekend tailgate. Mike G here with B. Will and Ike Jones. Auburn has defeated UMass to begin the season. But before we get into it, we got a little housekeeping to do. Definitely want you guys to subscribe to the channel. We need you guys to subscribe. Share this video using @the War Report on all social media, hashtag Get Your Weight Up, to make sure that people know where to find us. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter @the War Report, as well as TW Report on the TikToks. Guys, before we get into it, I hit the people with some housekeeping notes here on how they can become a patron.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very simple. Remove that banner for me. There we go. Very simple. You just click that join button and you can become a patron of the War Report. For everybody who was confused yesterday, halftime, that's members only, man. So if you're not a member and at least a subscriber, you're not going to be able to get in on the halftime chat. We get everybody back in here in the post game, though. But you got to be a patron to be able to watch the film. But all members, we got to watch the film Auburn versus UMass tomorrow. It's always more fun to do these when we win. And we're going to be doing our giveaway for the Samford tickets. That's going to be coming up this week. So if you are not a member by midnight tonight, you will not be in the drawing that we're going to do for those tickets. So make sure you get your membership active. If you are a member and you want to gift a membership, you can do that right now from the live chat. Somebody else can get 1 month of free membership on you. Hashtag Get Your Weight Up right now in the live chat to be able to be a part of the draw. And we are going to be giving away this War Report t-shirt sponsored by GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. Got to make sure I should shout out Auburn Dad. I apologize. He already gifted some memberships during this live stream. So thank you very much to Auburn Dad. Speaking of our post-game situation, we will have guys falling through from the rest of the Pod Network during our post-game this year. The Pod Network coming in heavy. Blake was able to join us last night, but you can watch them or listen to them on the War Report Pod Network, the College Loop, the Auburn Express, and the Uptempo podcast. And we also have the Just a Sec podcast that is going to be the home of the Amen Corner, as well as the betting segment that B. Will has going on, and a few other things that Bill will be launching here coming up soon. A lot of things happening right now on the Pod Network. Also, make sure that you guys head over to HelloFresh.com/50report using code 50report to get 50% off of your HelloFresh order. Your first order, 50% off and free shipping worldwide using HelloFresh.com/50report. America's #1 meal kit is HelloFresh. So make sure that you guys lock in with them. Had some really great meals that I was able to prepare with the HelloFresh packet that they sent over to me, and I don't cook. So if I'm able to follow the easy instructions that they can send, then trust and believe it is just that simple to pull off some really good meals. And listen, don't take my word for it. My family ate the food too. It wasn't just me over here trying to pretend like I did something good. It actually was good food that I prepared based upon the menus that they gave me. And then a special shout out to our title sponsor, Golden's Cast Iron. Head over to goldenscastiron.com. Use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off of weights. TWR for $65 off of fire pits and Kamado grills. They are also the sponsor of everybody's favorite segment from the War Report right now, the Fireside with the War Report. We've got, we did 5 of those already, or 4? I can't.
5.
Five of those available. If you have not watched that, that is the best Auburn content that exists on the web ever. Like, there's not better Auburn content that's out there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I would have to agree with that. Definitely want to shout out Golden's Cast Iron again for sponsoring this segment of the War Report and for being a great sponsor overall. If you have one of those grills, I highly suggest getting one this tailgating season. If you haven't cooked or grilled on cast iron, amazing experience. So they're making lifetime products over there. We appreciate them. Guys, let's jump right in. Hugh Freeze pulls off a win, drops 59 on UMass in the opener. Ike and I were there. B. Will got to watch via the televisions. So there's a lot we don't see sitting in the press box, but I did get a chance to rewatch it a couple times since last night. I'm assuming you got a chance to rewatch at some point between last night and today.
A little bit. I mean, my rewatch was not just an all the way through. I was cutting it up for film, so it was a little bit slower to get to that. But I watched a little bit of the first half so far. I've got a lot more film watching left to do, though.
Yeah, I also have to do the slow-mo film watching. There were some things. Again, I watched the replay. If you have ESPN Plus, you can actually go on there and just replay the game at any point. They cut out a significant amount of the commercials, so that's kind of nice. Anyway, jumping back in here, Hugh Freeze pulls off the win. We gave our immediate reactions on the post game. I was able to join live for a few minutes from Jordan-Hare on the field. But Ike, what did you see yesterday? What was your immediate takeaway from Hugh Freeze's opener at home?
What I saw was the ability for us to go fast is definitely going to be something that's going to cause offenses problems. This team did a really good job of, when they wanted to go tempo, getting there, getting lined up really quickly, getting to the next play. And it wasn't just, I always have to give the caveat when I start to do this because people get upset. When we previously had an up-tempo coach, it seemed as if the first play was automatically going to be a handoff, right? They were doing tempo to try to get to a handoff quickly and hopefully they could catch you. That didn't really seem to be the case. When we were going tempo, they actually were calling plays at the line of scrimmage and just going really fast with those plays and seeing how the defense was lined up previously, hoping to catch them in a similar coverage or similar alignment, and then do something based upon that. It's almost as if they had two plays called ready for that next play to go in there. Doing a really good job of that for a team that has not been together for a long time. I thought that was impressive. I thought the offensive line looked good. I thought our defense came out a little sluggish, but Ron Roberts, the way that he adjusted his defensive play calling to say, all right, enough of this. And was just like, y'all gonna have to deal with different people coming from everywhere now. We're not going to just I think he wanted to keep it base early and see if we could just play man up with them. Unfortunately, that didn't work on the first drive. Second drive, he was like, forget all that. I'm sending people. I'm sending them from everywhere. It wasn't necessarily blitzes. It was just, all right, I'm going to send the star right here and we're going to drop the jack. I'm going to send the jack. I'm going to send a linebacker. Y'all are getting a different body coming from a different place every single time. And that was thoroughly confusing them offensively. Loved what I saw overall from this team, even without them having to really go into their bag. I got a lot more I could say, but I'll let you guys talk a little bit. So,
Brian, you got a chance to watch with a more critical eye, obviously getting to see the television broadcast. Before you get into specifics, how terrible were the ESPN announcers during this one?
It was not good. It was not good. It was not good. No, it was not good. I didn't want to listen, but I was at the mercy of what was available on YouTube TV. I know a lot of people do the thing where you sync it up with the radio, but I still haven't made that a priority yet. We might have to get that going here soon. If we keep getting Beth Mowens on the call, like she said something last night that made me stop and look like this. I can't remember what it was. It was actually incorrect information. Whatever she said it was, I can't remember. Anyway, that was not great. The game was great though, but the game was great. It was a very entertaining game.
Were you as annoyed with them calling Robbie Ashford a running back?
Oh yeah,
that was one thing, but that wasn't her. That was him. He was like, Robbie Ashford, he's basically a running back. I was like,
oh, bro. He will never give you an interview. It was annoying to say the least. I thought I might just throw that in there. Our chat loves to talk about how annoying the ESPN announcers could be. I thought some of you might be tickled by that on the rewatch. I was equally. I mean, they really sent out the D team for that. However, they also before we get into the breakdown, kept selling that we were supposed to get some grand explanation about Jarquez Hunter
after the game.
The game.
Yeah, right? I was like, what? And I was like,
where are they getting that from? I had no idea where they were getting that from. So it seems like they made that up. But
they said we were told we'd get an explanation after the game, and
yeah, nobody on the beat was told that.
Yeah,
I can tell you that much. So they were the only ones that were told, if they were told at all.
They went and asked somebody, Jarquez Hunter's not starting yet. Yeah. We'll talk about it later. Get out my face.
Probably. Yeah, that's probably what it was. Yeah.
Right.
He's like, don't call me, I'll call you.
Yeah. Brian, again, you got to watch with a more critical eye, kind of seeing it with slow-mos and replays. What was your takeaway? What did you see? How is this different from what we've seen from Auburn in the past?
Well, to Ike's point, offensive operation looked fluid. And that was a big surprise to me because, again, most of these guys just got here. Almost all of our starters just got here on offense. I did not expect us to look fluid. I expected some rough patches. I expected us to look a little discombobulated at times, but we didn't. For the most part, it was working like it was supposed to work. Now, that doesn't mean every route was crisp or every route decision was correct or every throw was crisp, so on and so forth. But they lined up with a good idea of what they wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And like to Ike's point, there wasn't like, hey, no, go. Like, I didn't see guys having to correct themselves, go to the other side of the formation because they were supposed to be on this side. Like, that stuff wasn't
lined up, bro.
Like they didn't have problems getting lined up. So one thing that stuck out to me the most, the defense, right? What Ike just said was that, well, at first they were like, we're just going to go man on man and see what we can do. We could not just play like we intended to play and it work. And this is the game where that should work. This is the one game where that should work. Maybe two. Maybe Sanford will be a similar type game as well. This was a game where you should be able to line up and physically impose your will. We couldn't quite do that. And that was a little concerning. I saw some linebackers bouncing off guys out of position, missing a tackle or two. That first half, man, I don't expect us to get every tackle. I don't know if it's specific to a defensive coordinator or specific to a head coach. What I do know is that we didn't miss a lot of tackles under Kevin Steele. For all his pluses and minuses, I might not want him to be on my team, Kevin Steele, but he had our dudes tackling. We tackled top to bottom under Kevin Steele. Zacoby McClain tackled well in the Harsin era. Since then, it's been like hit or miss with do you tackle well or do you not? That's what stuck out to me. That's the one thing that worries me the most about where we are right now. Just after game one, tackling wasn't sound from everywhere. And linebackers being somewhat out of position or taking a bad angle, or the defensive line not being able to dominate a lesser FBS team in UMass. Those are the two things that most concern me. But again, the offense was nothing but positive, man. We weren't going to be crisp 100%. Nobody's going to be crisp 100% right out the gate. But everything that we should have seen as far as progress, ability to run the ball, getting guys open, those things happened. I am happy with those things. It was a great start.
Yeah. Before I get to Caesar, he has joined us. The man has joined us. It was a very good start, I think, to me, for the Hugh Freeze era. You had a quarterback who came in after the spring, who earned the start. You put together an offense essentially in an off season, and he was very true to his word about doing what was there, like taking what is there, not trying to force the issue one way or the other, whether it's run or pass, and running an offense that is predicated on this is what the defense is giving us. Here are the plays we have designed for that. And we need to go out and we need to execute. I thought that they did a good job of execution, but mostly that offensive line stood out to me. The quarterbacks did not look under a ton of duress yesterday. There were a couple plays where Peyton Thorne scrambled because plays didn't exactly develop the way they were supposed to, but I never got the feeling that he was running for his life yesterday.
He was comfortable. He was comfortable even when he was scrambling. Like he had the pocket presence in there that I was like, yeah.
That's gonna be I'm about to say that's an underrated portion of what he did yesterday. Is his mobility wasn't like Robbie Ashford athletic, but his ability to avoid the rush. That's something I didn't even really see on tape a lot at Michigan State. that I was like, okay, Peyton Thorne has definitely been working on his pocket presence. I liked what I saw out of him for that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that they made an effort to push the ball down the field. Guys, there were 7 throws, 20 yards or more. They completed 3 of them. Shockingly, from 10 to 15 yards, there were only 4 passes, only 1 completed. And he was nearly perfect from 10 yards in. So there was nothing that was great yesterday, I thought, from the quarterback position as far as passing the ball from either quarterback. But they didn't really need it yesterday. So that's going to be something that they need to continue to develop. I don't think that it's reasonable to expect it to be completely polished in game 1. But I thought it was a good start. My feeling going into this one was Auburn should be able to just go out there and play football and beat this team. And outside of the first drive, that's what they did. Right? Tyson Pumachan had just enough talent to get them a scoring drive on the first drive. And after that, it was tough sledding for that entire UMass offense the rest of the game. They got kind of like a garbage time touchdown on a busted play or good play or whatever you want to call it late in the game. I thought there might actually be one more of those the later into the fourth quarter that it got, but they finished with 14 points. Overall, I would grade I'll save grades for later, but I thought that they did what they needed to do, and they didn't show us anything. I don't think you saw Auburn's offense yesterday.
Right.
I thought you saw them go out there and play football, but I don't think you saw Auburn's offense yesterday. Caesar, you got a chance to watch with a more critical eye, too, having watched it on TV. Give us your thoughts again, man. Have you had a chance to rewatch and develop more thoughts about what you saw?
I haven't had a chance to rewatch, but like I said, just to kind of reiterate your point, Mike, is that the beauty of this is that we can push teams around with our offensive line. And what that does is it takes a lot of pressure off of our QBs to have to speed up the time of improving the passing offense, which it needs to. But I like the fact that we didn't need to beat them through the air. And I think it's going to take some time with Thorne just being on campus 2-3 months to develop that chemistry with the receivers and with his targets. Obviously, he threw to the outside of Fromm when he should have threw inside. Like, those are sort of things that can be corrected and fixed and cleaned up moving forward. But I think the passing game is a work in progress. It was just refreshing to know that we can throw a forward pass.
Yeah.
And that teams moving forward are going to have to respect the fact that we can throw a forward pass. Because for the past 2 years, we could come up with a defensive plan. Hey, just stick an extra person in the box and dare Auburn to beat you. I think this year we will make some teams pay for that.
Yeah.
And I think that's encouraging. That's an improvement already going into game 1. They're going to build up on the passing game. I echo B's sentiments. We talked about this yesterday. We saw 2 new linebackers in. We saw new linebackers in playing reps, and I'm still seeing a lot of the problems we saw last year. That's kind of concerning to me, seeing as though we got new faces in that room. Yeah, I don't know what you do about that, especially with the arm tackling at times. That first drive had me really worried about how this game was going to go. It was almost reminiscent of Georgia State first half for a drive, because they just whatever they wanted to do on the ground, they could get it. But I'm pleased that once they got past the first script, Auburn adjusted, that they were unable to continue to get yards on ground like they were. But I think about Arkansas. I think about teams that can actually do that. They can run the ball. They have a mobile QB. That's something to keep an eye on as this season goes on, because there's teams that can run the ball much better than UMass can. How much improved will we be defensively against that? And I want to see us be able to generate pressure on QBs without having to blitz. I think we blitzed a lot for this to be UMass in game 1.
Yeah.
Obviously, we had some guys out at the jack position. I want to see us bring pressure with our front 4 for sure. Pleased with special teams. I thought special teams played well. Guys made plays on special teams. I still would like to see us kicking it into the end zone, but field goal kicks were good. punt return was good. I mean, Keontae is that dude. Batee may get one. He may get one this year. I like his willingness to run it, and he has good vision. So other than overall, I was pleased. But there are some things that needs to be cleaned up. But again, you got a lot of players, new coaches. I expect there to be things to be cleaned up after week 1.
Guys, sticking with the offensive theme here, let's move to the run game. The run game was a strength for Auburn over the last 4 or 5 games of last season. It seems like they've continued the theme with an improved offensive line. Sean Jackson led all rushers with 64 yards on 5 carries, averaged 12.8 yards per attempt. Obviously, he had the one really big run in there. Jeremiah Cobb came in with 57 yards on 5 carries. We round out the rushers with Damari Alston, 43 yards on 8 carries. He averaged 5.4 yards per carry. Justin Jones, 33 yards. Brian Batee had 31 yards. He actually had the most attempts. He was tied with him and Damari both had 8 attempts rushing the ball. And Robbie Ashford, who is not a running back, but also turned in 51 yards on 7 attempts. Auburn total 290 yards on the ground. What do we think about this rushing? I felt like this is going to be a top 3 rushing offense in the league this year. Do we feel like they did the job on the ground? How do we feel about the run game? Ike, I'll start with you.
Yeah. Running backs look good. Again, I haven't had an opportunity to go back and watch any film on it in detail, but just from what I saw, Damari Alston, man, I've been saying this all off season. I like what he brings. He's that guy who is going to bring the aspect that we would have been missing without Tank, which is making guys miss in the backfield, right? Like when it looks like, oh, that's not going anywhere. Damari's a guy who can make people miss and still get tough yardage. He runs tough through contact, but he's shifty enough to make guys miss at the point of attack. I like what he's able to do there. He's got good vision, and his balance just to be able to shift and jump from this gap to the next gap is really good. Brian Batee seemed to struggle a little bit. I don't know if he was 100% healthy yet. When he was doing the kick returns, he looked fine, but when he was running the ball, I just didn't see the same kind of power through contact that I saw when I was watching the film with him at USF. So it'll be interesting to see how that developed. I like what I saw out of the young guy, Jeremiah Cobb, when he came into the game. He showed some really good quickness to the outside and the ability to just kind of find the crease on the long run that he had and get upfield. His speed is top notch. That's good breakaway speed. That's a guy who he can be a home run threat for Auburn in the future, where it's like if you miss an assignment, you miss a gap, and he gets to the second level, good luck. Yeah, because that could be tail lights real quick. And then Sean Jackson, man, he probably had the most impressive run of the day as far as him being shifty through in between the tackles, and then having enough balance to get to daylight and keep his balance and then break away. I was impressed with Sean Jackson's ability to run the ball on that run in particular. So the rushing attack, no issues there. I think we only had like 2 negative plays the entire day in the run game. Again, not gonna jump up and down about it because it's UMass, but let's be clear, UMass had a top 10 defense last year, and in the first game they didn't show signs of relenting, right? So I know people want to give, oh, it's just UMass, it's just UMass. UMass gave everybody, including Texas A&M, like their Power 5 opponents last year had issues with UMass. That defensive coordinator is one of the better defensive minds in all of college football. Consistently gives people problems, consistently generating tackles for loss. Negative plays is how they make their bread and butter. Only 2 of those for Auburn yesterday. That's not something you just gloss over as if, oh, it's just UMass. No, that's a real statistic to look at and say they didn't do what they typically do. And that you have to credit our ability from this offensive line standpoint and from just strategically how they decided to attack. Coach Hugh Freeze, very familiar with him, had some better athletes to line up against them this time, and it showed.
Yeah. Guys, the run game, man. How did you guys feel about this top 3 run game in the SEC? Caesar.
We averaged 6.6 yards per carry yesterday.
That's a first down every two carries.
That's good.
Yeah,
we're good. And I'm happy for Hugh Freeze wanted to play a lot of guys yesterday. He wanted to play a lot of guys. So to see guys like Justin Jones get in there and average 8 yards per carry, to see Sean Jackson break off that big, I'm happy for these guys. And it makes you feel good knowing that we were down our star running back. And this is what we almost ran for 300 yards yesterday without our star running back. So this room has been one of the deepest rooms. Credit to Cadillac for bringing these kids in, developing them, and having them ready to go. That's a testament to him. But we've always have had guys in that room. It's not like we just got them, but now they have a line to run behind, which is scary for opposing defenses in our league. We've already had dudes. Now we got dudes in front of dudes. Dudes blocking for dudes, basically. Yeah. So it's an exciting time for this Auburn offense. And again, all that does is make life easier for the QB to operate because the defense is worried about being gashed. 6.6 yards per carry. That's not something you gloss over if you're a defensive coordinator facing Auburn.
Yeah. Brian, what did you think about Jeremiah Cobb, man? The youngster got a significant amount of playing time in this one. I have to admit I was wrong about how much they would play him. What do you think about Cobb? And if Jarquez Hunter plays, who's the odd man out?
That's what's tough.
And this whole rushing palooza that we saw yesterday.
That's what's tough about. Well, Cobb looked great with the touches that he got, and something that was noted by the chat yesterday and even by a couple people talked to after, he picked up a blitz he picked up the right man. He was in the right spot to pick up the blitz. That's important because that's usually what even the most talented running backs miss on. It's the mental side. You haven't even gotten RB1 snaps in practice. It's not like you've been working with Peyton Thorne. I think he was in there with Robbie, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, y'all correct me. But he was in there with
the blitz.
Yeah. Or was he in there with Thorne?
I think it was Thorne.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
So I don't know how they distribute. And Hugh Freeze has said this. He's like, man, I'm going to play everybody. He said he was going to play everybody. He seemed to play everybody. But guys are ready when they get their number called. That's important. That's incredibly important because that has to build trust in him from the staff to know, all right, well, if we get down to Cobb, we'll be fine. If we want to make him the second running back out there, we'll be fine. We're going to be set at running back. Cobb looked very fast, very fast in that touchdown run he had, which is encouraging. I'm assuming he's just as much of a power back as he is a speed back. We may be looking at I don't want to make comparisons yet. I'm going to overreact later. Not right now. Soon, though. Soon. But I like him with Robbie because those are two extremely fast backs. I know Damari we don't have a slow running back on this team. Not even Sean Jackson, honestly. But the fastest back with the fastest quarterback, I think that's something that we probably see more of because once Cobb got in the game, he was paired with Robbie. I won't say exclusively, but a lot. He was in there with Robbie a lot. I really like the idea of them being on the field together.
Let's get to some super chats here before we continue the conversation about offense. Cleveland Brown says, War Eagle Winters here. Red Zone Robbie. I want to take this time to acknowledge that Ike Jones was the first to tweet out Red Zone Robbie.
You're darn right I was.
And then ESPN decided that they would scour his Twitter for good ideas, and then they started.
I'm not saying they got it from me. I'm just saying it's a little convenient that after I tweeted it out, they started doing it.
They definitely got it from you.
I'm just saying.
They got it from you. Red Zone Robbie we're going to get to Red Zone Robbie here in a second.
Ike, you deserve credit. And today we're going to make sure you get it. ESPN stole it from you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just like they do with every other talent that's out there. They steal it. Okay.
Yeah. And then they fire it. AD says, congrats to TJ Finley on a huge upset over Baylor and getting QBR over 96.2, though he beat out for QB. He got beat out for QB1. Guess not. Still happy with our QB room, War Damn Eagle. Yeah, TJ Finley had a big day yesterday. They were among the biggest upsets, I think, in college football with Texas State, right? Beating Baylor. So certainly
we'll
happy
get into
for him.
it. We'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that. Scott Chapman, appreciate the super chat, says, let's call the whiteout the freeze out for games. Yeah, I don't mind that. Listen, as long as you keep putting 59 on the board, you can call whatever you want. Just keep putting 59 on the board. I think fans will definitely be happy with that. Jeffrey Mannion, we got DeAndre Carter, y'all. Freeze warning in effect. Did we get Carter?
Yes, he committed. He's committed.
Wow, Hugh Freeze is on fire. Trevon Reed tweeted out this morning, we ain't done yet. I had no clue that's what he was talking about, but now
you already know something's about to happen if he tweets that. You already know. Just go ahead and get ready.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Auburn Dad for life. Just saying again, along with the win and now 4-star O lineman. Listen,
that was huge.
I mean,
we got an offensive lineman.
We've said this. Putting proof of concept on field is going to help in recruiting. Now, Ike had noted, he said, like, we were sitting in the booth, and Ike looked at me and was like, damn, Mike, look at all the recruits down there. And I was like, yep, that's a lot of them.
It was a grip of recruits at the game.
It was a whole gaggle of them down on the field. Just a harem of recruits. Down on the field, and they got to witness a great environment with a lot of scoring. And if you're on offense, you love to see that. They really put on a show for recruits yesterday, and I was happy to see that. I think they need to continue that. I want to thank Chris K for being a member for 30 months. He says the running back room is legit. Top 3 in the SEC, guys. I'm telling you, Jarquez Hunter didn't even play yesterday. You're not going to get a break. Auburn is not giving you a reprieve when they change out running backs, so get ready for it. Lisa Wise, I appreciate Lisa, longtime listener and subscriber. Love our kick and punt returners. They get the ball and are full speed in 2 steps, no hesitating, dancing, looking for holes, just boom, he gone.
That's true.
Let's stick here for a second. Ike, your guy Keontae Scott was taking chances out there at the punt return.
Listen, that's who he is, man.
Oh, man, he was gambling and it was paying off. Should we expect more of this from Keontae Scott?
I mean, again, he just kind of is who he is, man. He was that guy from the first time he got on campus last year when he was returning punts. You were like, oh, wait, why is he? Oh, well, I guess that worked out. Never mind. Right? Like, he's just like, if there's a chance for me to make a play, I'm going to go try to make a play. The one that bounced over his head and he ran backwards to grab it, and then he ends up still getting like 30 yards in the return. I was just like, bro, like, what? I mean, you can't do anything but just be like, hey, he's a ball player, and so he's gonna go out there and do his thing, man. I like what he brings to the team in the punt return game.
Yeah, he gets north and south really quick, and that's what you want in your punt. Like, that's what makes them so dangerous is they know how to get north really quick,
fast. Yeah,
and Keontae does it really well. So much so to where there was a time where you didn't want your punt returners at Auburn to take chances. I'm okay with Keontae taking chances because the payoff of him being able to do that is very likely. So no, I know the president. Is it still president or vice president of the Keontae Scott fan club? So
we had the opportunity to meet his uncle before the game, and I think he says that he's officially his biggest fan, but I still will claim that I'm the president of the fan club. So he's maybe he's the biggest member of the club, but I'm the president.
You're running the club for the uncle, so you're the president. Yeah, gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, we saw him outside of Stack's Pancake Kitchen, which is also a sponsor of the War Report. So go check out Stack's. Had a bomb omelet there before we got into game festivities. Lisa, appreciate this comment. Again, I thought the kick return was huge highlight.
Looked electric from the very first time he touched it. I was like, yo, they really kicked it to him, bro.
Yeah, like
I was shocked. I was like,
I was surprised. I thought about you too. Like, I was like, I guess they are kicking it to him.
Yeah, I mean, here's where an underrated part of having good kick returners is that teams have to expend energy trying to kick away from them, and mistakes happen, right?
Right.
So it's like, oh, don't kick to him, and then he shanks one out of bounds. Like, just the fear of the returner can really create havoc for other teams. So it's interesting.
Yeah, they start doing stuff like squib kicking or trying to like like they just do all kinds of stuff that's uncharacteristic, or unless they have a kicker who can kick it out of the back of the end zone.
Yeah, right. But what it does is it helps you with field position too, because you're doing all of that and you're giving them field position without kicking it to your guy who was going to get you good field position anyway. So it's just like pick your poison. Did we shank a kickoff yesterday?
So I haven't rewatched it. We did have a kickoff go out of bounds, but somebody on Twitter was saying they were trying to kick into a void that they saw coming out of halftime for UMass, and he kicked it a little too far. So it wasn't necessarily a shank; it was intentional. I haven't had an opportunity to go back and watch that yet because crazy situation with us on the elevator trying to get back up to the deck.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll talk about that at another time. Christian Crawford says Robbie Ashford for QB1 in due time. We're going to talk about quarterbacks here, guys, in just a second. Appreciate this super chat. B. Will's forehead says, I know people are down on Thorne, but just because he only had one TD don't mean he needs to be QB2. Also, South Carolina and Florida are straight cheeks.
Are we?
I don't know if people are
down
on Thorne. If you shouldn't be. If you are down, you shouldn't be. Just you shouldn't be.
It's too early for down. I don't know. Again, I need to rewatch it, but.
I heard some conversations from people.
I want to save these comments because, again, we're going to address quarterback specifically. I know everybody will be have their pencils out to quote me. B. Will's forehead says, he already said that. A few more comments here. The War Dam from Turkey. It's late over here, but I wanted to stop by to say hello. Hey, listen, man, Turkey,
be safe over in Turkey,
a long way away.
My man, assuming that you're serving, thank you for your service. Stay safe. Our prayers go out to you. Sure. Eric Moss, nice meeting you at Tiger Walk, Mike G. I appreciate you taking time to chop it up with us. Met a lot of you guys. I had a chance to meet a lot of you guys yesterday. It was amazing meeting the fans. I spent a little bit of time out at Tiger Walk. That turned into a circus, but it was great being out there with you guys. We appreciate your support. If you see us out there, don't be afraid to stop us and say hi and grab a picture or, whatever. We're out there. Connie Friday Dobbins. I saw Ike at the game. Eek.
Yeah, I was coming down the stairs to get to the field to go to the post game, and she told me, she tweeted at me afterwards. She thought that she scared me. I was like, nah, I was just trying to not fall in front of everybody walking down those steps with like my computer bag and everything. So I was kind of like focused in one direction. She said, Ike, and I was like, oh, hey. And then by the time I was
I try not to fall without a bag. Them stadium steps can be flat, but go ahead.
AU, I appreciate this, Connie. We are always elated to see you guys again. If you see us, be more aggressive about saying hi. There's a lot going on. AU alum 94, Mike G and Ike are right. Jay Fair and K Scott are those guys. Listen, guys, in life, there are people who have the courage to say what needs to be said. Pick a guy and stick with him. Keontae Scott, Jay Fair. Listen,
low key
balled yesterday.
Hate to cut you off, Mike, but low key, your boy Malcolm was getting some catches too.
Yeah, Malcolm got busy. Yeah.
Malcolm and Jay Fair were eating yesterday, so I'm
right. He's been dealing with injuries, but the adjustments to those are kind of like back shoulder throws that Holden was throwing him, and he went to the ground. I wouldn't be surprised to see him, if injuries continue, move up the depth chart. They still think a lot of people still think he's the fastest guy on the team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if you've got speed and you're sure-handed, if you're Hugh Freeze and he's healthy, I just don't know why you don't give Malcolm a shot. Right. We'll get to receiver right after we talk quarterback, but good point. Listen, Malcolm Johnson is a talented guy. And a lot of people are like, oh, you're off the Malcolm Johnson train. I was like, but he's just hurt. What can you do when a guy's hurt?
Yeah.
I've never doubted his talent. Right now, but health is one of those things some players struggle with throughout their careers, unfortunately. You hate to see that, man, but hopefully he gets healthy, man, and stays healthy, because I think that if he's healthy, every coach that has come in has loved Malcolm Johnson. Harsin loved him. Hugh Freeze loves him. They like Malcolm Johnson in this program. I'm telling you, he's a great kid. So Nina says, I also love this Auburn team. Didn't have a lot of flags, not a ton of penalties yesterday. There were some, which we'll get to when we talk about quarterback, on some plays that Robbie had that were a little disappointing. But again, we'll talk about that. And then Thomas Jones with the super sticker. If there was a comment that went with this,
I tried to find it.
You didn't find it? Okay. Well, we appreciate you, Thomas, for this comment. Before we get to the break, guys, let's talk wide receiver. Auburn had a decent day, I guess, throwing the ball. There were 203 yards through the air. Peyton Thorne threw for 141 yards on 18 attempts, 10 completions for 55.6 completion percentage. He had an adjusted of 55.6. So they're saying there were no drops out there for Peyton Thorne.
I don't recall.
There were no drops. Yeah, I'm and quite honestly, Pro Football Focus did not record a single drop by any receiver in this game.
Really, not even Burton's?
Yeah, about to say the Caleb one definitely was a drop.
They didn't record. We'll see if they update that, but as of now, they didn't record any drops. Holden had 2 attempts, 2 completions, so he was 100% on the day. Robbie had 2 completions on 6 attempts. For 33.3%. But again, when we get the quarterback, we'll talk about it. What do we feel about the day that the wide receivers had, catching balls for these quarterbacks? Jay Fair obviously stood out, so I won't spend a ton of time talking about him. What did you guys see from the wide receiver core, Caesar?
Some of the names that we've been hearing all fall camp, I understand why some of these guys were getting a lot of praise. Obviously, Jay Fair stands out. He looks good in open field as well. Very shifty. Javarius Johnson made some very tough catches. He doesn't have the yards to really reflect all what he did, but he made a very tough catch on one of those drives that we had. Shane Hooks looks good. Again, these are guys who I would like to see some more targets. I know we attempted to target Camden Brown. I think as he gets more burn, there's going to be some opportunities for him. I would have liked to have seen Shorter get an opportunity, but I don't know if he was targeted. Do we have that try to target him?
No targets for Shorter.
Fairweather. These are guys whose names I expect to hear in the coming weeks. But it was good to see guys like Malcolm Johnson Jr. Catch the ball. That back shoulder throw, we're throwing that really well. And obviously that's something that's a part of Hugh Freeze's offense that he wants his QBs to be able to do. We do that extremely well. That was there. I think we did that for. Did Shane Hooks catch? He caught a couple of those, I think. So that back shoulder throw is a feature in our offense. I'm looking forward to also Shane Hooks, Fairweather, Camden Brown getting some opportunities to catch some fades in the end zone. As well. Obviously, again, you're not showing a lot of your playbook, but the opportunities that our receivers did get, we was able to take advantage of them. There wasn't a lot of drops, so that was good to see. I was pleased with our receivers on yesterday.
Brian, are you surprised that only 4 receivers caught passes yesterday? Only 4 receivers caught passes yesterday. Nothing from the tight ends at all.
No, I'm not. I can't say I'm surprised. I didn't think a lot of guys got separation. Jay Fair is fast enough and quick enough to create separation. He did that. Javarius Johnson is fast enough and quick enough. And even the pass he caught, he was actually contested pretty well. He was covered. He just caught it.
Yeah.
But he can also create separation. We still seem to have an issue with guys who aren't great at separating outside of the slot position. I think probably all 3 guys who will play slot will be able to separate because they have the speed and the quickness to do so. Outside, who's going to separate for us and make some very easy passes for the quarterbacks? Between Hooks was open because he's tall, not because he was open. And that's a significant difference between being a guy who can run a route, get the defense confused, and then just raise his hand and be wide open. So I think we're going to find out more as the year goes on, because I don't think they showed everything they want to show. You know what I'm saying? Like they're setting habits and setting tendencies right now for people to see for later. They got to go on the road and play a game in very foreign territory. So I'm sure they didn't break out everything they're going to show, but I expect more guys to get involved as the year goes on. I wouldn't be surprised if they're saving Fairweather targets for later in the year. That wouldn't surprise me at all. You want him to be a big part of the offense. He's too dynamic an athlete to leave him out of the offense. So save some of those targets, some of those looks, some of those plays you have drawn up for him, and get back at it next week. Maybe we'll see a little more.
Ike, receivers. Malcolm Johnson and Jay Fair led all receivers. Two guys I've talked about quite a bit over the last few years. 59 and 56 yards. Javaris Johnson, a guy you've talked about, came in. He had 4 targets and 4 receptions. Now, we talked about, you and I kind of went back and forth about whether there would be enough targets for one or the other based on how they played them. It seems like there's enough ball to go around for both these guys. What do you expect in the future in terms of, like, does this game affect how they play, what formations they put out there for wide receiver?
I think what's going to be a bigger thing is the thing. Let me give some props to the wide receivers before I say something I didn't like that I saw a little bit. The slot guys were doing their thing. I mean, even though Caleb Burton didn't come down with any receptions, I liked what I saw from him out there.
Yeah.
The outside guys going to need a little bit of work as far as, like you said, separation. But I think a lot of what the plan was for them to show the ability to throw some of those back shoulder things, because that sets you up for DBs trying to squat on routes, and then you can throw it over the top. I think, listen, there's so much left that this offense hasn't shown that I'm excited about what the prospects are for the future. But I think the one thing that's going to determine a lot of what's going to happen, because we have guys who, when they're targeted, can catch the ball, is how well we're blocking on the outside. And I did see some opportunities where the blocking wasn't particularly good on the outside. And if we get better at that, I think it makes the offense that much more dangerous because of how they play a lot of the spacing. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes going forward. But good effort, I think, from all of the receivers throughout the game. I'm looking forward to seeing how they progress as they start to build some more chemistry with what's going on in this offense.
Guys, we heard a lot of hype about Shane Hooks. Right. He had 6 targets. So he had the second most targets on the day, but only 2 receptions for 41 yards. What does he need to do better from what you've seen so far? Again, I know you got to go back and look at the tape, but did you guys notice anything stand out about Shane Hooks to you guys?
Just that he was contested a lot, but he got a lot of targets. The quarterback's going to him when he wasn't necessarily open. To me, that says in fall camp, he was the guy who was catching everything that came his way. I think that's a testament to his ability. Him getting targets when he's not open says, this is our dude. And I think that's a good thing. That's nothing but a good thing, because they're going to figure out ways to get him open. That's not just, hey, see if you can beat this guy on this route. It's going to be, all right, we're going to scheme you open. Now, when that happens, you get a dynamic talent, a tall talent, a guy with a wide catch radius, and we're going to be able to have a target that can really do some favors for the quarterback here. And once you start trying to get him open, it's going to get even better. Now, he has to get better at, I'm not sure if Ike would know better than me because he did a breakdown of some of his film. Does he have the ability to get open? Is that something he can improve on over the course of the year? He just got here. Now, I'm not saying he was lacking for coaching at Jackson State, because, we don't have any reason to believe that at all. But his skill set can still expand and he can still improve. One thing that Coach Freeze noted about all the wide receivers was loafing, the now famous loafing remark on how if they knew they weren't going to get the ball, they would just kind of, I think once you do that more often, once you practice going full speed more often, you become more dangerous. You can catch the defense slipping more than you have so far. So I think it's going to get better for Hooks, but the fact that he got targeted so much says what his value can be on this team.
Guys, and I think he got held, like there was a clear hold on one of those incompletes that was thrown his way as well that didn't get called. So
Hooks is again, there was a lot of hype around him in camp. We know he can make some circus catches. I'll be looking forward to seeing more of him in the future. Guys, let's go ahead and get to the break here. I want to thank everybody for watching. Let's pay some bills, and we'll be right back at you guys with more of the weekend tailgate.
This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. When you work out, grill out, and chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com. auburnsports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn Sports, head over to auburnsports.com. and our giveaway sponsor, GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. If you want the best in the business at restaurant logistics, head over to gwt2energy.com. Thank you to the sponsors of the War Report. Thank you to those of you who have continued to be members of the War Report. Lots of great membership content coming to you guys. Watch the film coming up this week. We've got ticket giveaways for the Samford game coming up for those of you that are members. You've seen the game day situation that we've got going on. So thank you to everybody who has supported us in that way. $5.99 gets you to the patron level for all of the greatest of the perks. But we appreciate each and every member that we have of the War Report family. If you'd like to gift a membership, you can do that right now from the live chat. Current members can gift memberships, and someone will get that for free for the first month of their membership on you. We appreciate everybody who continues to do that. Hashtag get your weight up right now in the live chat to get a little something for yourself, potentially free. That is going well. We've only got 104 of the 500 or so people that are on here. That better odds for those who don't want to get that in there, but we're giving away the War Report t-shirt. And then once again, shout out to HelloFresh, HelloFresh.com/50Rapport, 50% off of your first order and free shipping when you use code 50Rapport at that site. Make sure you head over there and get you a little something to get your fall ready with HelloFresh, man. The summer's coming to an end very soon, and they're going to be switching the menus over. Had a great time fixing my own meals. I know B. Will has been a long-time user of HelloFresh, so, he was just continuing down that line. But, yeah, it was good to be able to get those meals in, and we appreciate the folks at HelloFresh for sponsoring today's edition of the Weekend Tailgate.
Hey, guys, a couple more comments here before we jump into the QB conversation. Phil Petway says that Fairweather is an unlockable character. Brian, Phil says Fairweather is downloadable content. So we will see more Fairweather in the future after we earn enough credits. Otis Smith says this was a fall jamboree for Auburn. We didn't show anything, but we will show Cal more than they know what to do with. Oda, always coming through with the sunshine pump. We appreciate that. And Thomas Jones says, was sitting in front of Jay Fair's family when he scored on the TD pass, screams and tears of joy for the next 10 minutes. It was a beautiful thing to experience with his family. Listen, I was screaming and had tears of joy on the inside as well, too. I am spiritually connected to that family.
What did you do? What did you do in the booth when that happened, Mike? Did you
can't do anything in the booth?
Did you remember? Did you remember that you was in the booth? Or
yeah. I walked over to Lance Dahl and I stared him right in his eye. And I said, you know what this means. So I did that every single time Jay Fair caught a pass.
That was like our yeah. I would just look over at Lance and I'd be like, every time he caught a pass, I would just be like, just counting it down, baby.
The cat's out of the bag now. Lance and I made a bet preseason. He bet me that Jay Fair would not have 10 catches this entire season.
He's got 5 already.
Yeah, he got 5 in the first game. I was like, yeah, boy, that's not
I took that bet immediately. And I told Jay about it just to make sure he put a little sauce on it for me to make sure that I win and Lance loses. So Lance is going to lose next week. And then he's going to have to wear a t-shirt with Jay's stats on it and his face. And then I Heart Jay Fair on the back. And whatever else I decide to put on this t-shirt.
You're adding additional stuff to this shirt.
Okay, guys.
Mike was right on the back of it as well.
Somebody help me get this comment off the screen. Let's jump into the QB discussion. Hugh Freeze played 3 quarterbacks yesterday. It was a blowout, and he did get a chance to get his backups some time. But Robbie Ashford came in about 5 minutes left, I think, in the first quarter, and showed off what he could do. Red Zone Robbie was dubbed to this day due to that performance. Hugh Freeze has been saying this whole offseason, he's been hinting at playing 2 quarterbacks. He said in a press conference, if he handles this the right way, we can't keep him off the field. He said Robbie Ashford is different. He said a lot of things about Robbie Ashford, and then he put Robbie Ashford out there. As far as we knew, he was dealing with an oblique injury coming in, so there was some doubt about how much he would play. He looked fine to me, but he is also a tough guy, so who knows how injured he actually was. Right. What are you guys' immediate reactions to the QB rotation. What do we think about how Hugh Freeze rotated quarterbacks in this one?
A lot more. It made more sense this year when they brought Robbie Ashford. Like last year when they
I made yesterday.
Yeah, when they brought Robbie in at certain points, I was just like,
why
right there? And then when they took him back out, I was like, what? I didn't get the rhyme or reason. Like they just used him properly. They understood when to deploy him in certain situations. And again, if anybody thinks that he's just going to be this, wild quarterback type of situation, game one, I just don't understand why you would overreact to that. Especially considering he actually did throw passes in this game, right? And completed passes in this game. So I don't fully understand that. I don't get the reaction that some people are having to the Robbie packages that are out there. But in the red zone, it makes sense. And Mike and I talked about this in the booth. It makes sense to have Robbie run the ball more in the red zone because there's less verticality that needs to be happening. How you manipulate defenses is horizontally. You spread them out and you make sure that, okay, I've got receivers to the outside. I've got to respect the fact that he is an actual quarterback, right? So could throw the ball in this scenario. So I have to respect and put somebody over the top of these receivers out here, or that's just asking them to throw a quick whatever to this guy out here and just giving up points that way. So, all right, cool. We're going to take 3 to 4 people and move them out of the box immediately. And now whatever you've got left in the box, you've got to account for him with somebody else, which means that if I slip a tight end or the running back in the flat or whatever it is, now that's more open than it would have been before, because the guy who I would have accounted for him with is now accountable to that running quarterback. And then he's really, really fast. Yeah. So if you're out of position by even a half a step, that's too much.
Right.
He's hard to deal with. Like, it's a very difficult thing to deal with. And they deployed it properly to make sure that they were scoring touchdowns in the red zone. How is anybody upset about this?
I don't know.
Yeah. Guys, Robbie Ashford, he scored 3 TDs. He probably could have more yesterday, honestly. He was in on the drive, I think, where Cobb broke for the 43-yard touchdown run. He seemed to have commanded off. He made some really good passes that were called back. There was one to Jay Fair that was called back because of a hold, I think. And then there was Fairweather had the hold on that play, I believe. And there was another one where he made a perfect pass that was called back.
Yeah, it was like a slant route or something like that.
So
which
he
was
could have had a
throw. That was on a 3rd down too.
Yeah. I didn't really see. I mean, he obviously there was one on like a 3rd and 20 that he overthrew the hooks, but they were clearly not trying to get the first down. I thought he had a pretty decent day, even though he didn't get a lot of passes called for him throwing the ball. What do we think about the rotation, guys, and how Robbie did with that rotation?
Yeah, to echo Ike's point, and I mentioned this yesterday on the live, it made sense how they used Robbie. They didn't break up anybody's rhythm in the offense. Clearly, Thorne still had the rhythm going when he was playing, and they didn't interrupt that just to put Robbie in for the sake of putting him in the game. It felt like they were doing that. Hey, we got to get Robbie in. Let's just put him in right now.
Right.
That's how it felt last year. This year, it made sense why you're putting him in the game. It's short yardage situation. You don't want Thorne to get injured. Robbie is the more effective runner. And I just think they didn't even show a lot even when Robbie was in the game in terms of how they plan to deploy and use him moving forward. He was very effective in doing that. I think he was an easy 5 yards when he was in there. And so that made a lot of sense for the red zone. And I was happy to see all 3 quarterbacks. I was happy to see that Holden was able to throw the ball. Again,
He's got beautiful arm.
I can't remember the last time the 3rd string quarterback completed passes, meaningful passes in a game. That was refreshing to see. And so I think, again, the plan to play all of those kids, these coaches were able to achieve that on the offensive side of the ball. And these guys were able to really throw. They were able to run the offense. Even Ashford, when he was in there, he was able to run the offense. And so I'm pleased with how they use that. I think they're going to watch the film to really see how these kids are doing, who looks good with who. Obviously, you want to see more of Cobb and Robbie Ashford just because of the home run threat both of them tend to have with their speed. So it was good to see.
Brian, quarterbacks rotation, Robbie Ashford. What did you see?
There didn't seem to be. I can't say that everything looked to be in rhythm, because I've seen quarterbacks get switched out for other quarterbacks and go and argue that, well, you're doing that. Famously, this was the NFL. Donovan McNabb was still on the team when Michael Vick got brought in. Okay, that was like Mike Vick's rehabilitation thing. Donovan McNabb has been his own quarterback for a long time there under Andy Reid. And once he was asked after a game about Mike Vick coming in against some snaps, he was like, well, it's tough. You're trying to get in a rhythm and you're breaking up your thing. Quarterbacks who fancy themselves as the only starter that's needed do have a problem with that. And that will show in their attitude when they think they have something to prove, if they don't want the other guy butting in on their territory. But what I saw was these guys obviously knew this was going to happen. Like, this was a part of the game plan. This wasn't a surprise. This wasn't something that, why are you taking me out? I'm getting ready to call a play. No, we're going to bring Robbie Ashford here. He's going to play. Hugh Freeze has said that since he said that Peyton Thorne was going to be the starter. I don't know why anybody would be surprised about that. Peyton Thorne didn't seem to have a problem with it. Robbie Ashford didn't seem to have a problem with it. Everybody was productive. Everybody was scoring touchdowns. I don't know how anybody could have a problem with how this went. It seemed to be a good outing to me.
Let's get to the giveaway here before we continue the conversation about quarterbacks. Ike, what are we giving away today?
The shirts.
The shirt. We are giving away a shirt. Hashtag get your weight up. That's what you were supposed to put in the comments. Ike is not going to wait, so I'm just going to talk for another 20 seconds to give you guys another 20 seconds to get in here. Oh, nope, this doesn't matter. He's going. Yeah, he's rolling it.
Yeah, he's going to roll it whether you show the screen or not.
I tried, guys. I tried.
Y'all had all the show.
I think one day, Black Jesus. Lord, Black Jesus.
Of course he did.
Black I Jesus think one day we're gonna just talk and hold it, and then we turn to the screen and it'll just be showing the winner because I has already.
Black Jesus, if you're here, if you've heard our prayers, be in the comment section to claim. You got to be here to win. You have to be here to win. Let's talk about the other side of this quarterback conversation coin, guys, with Peyton Thorne. He won the start. This was the starter. Red Zone Robbie took the headlines, but Peyton Thorne went out there first. Let's talk about his stats here. He was 10 of 18 for 141 yards, 1 TD, no turnovers, 55.6% completion percentage. And we're saying right now they didn't record a drop, but we're saying there might have been a drop by Burton. Was that from Peyton Thorne, though? Or was that from another quarter?
No,
it wasn't from Peyton Thorne.
That's from
Robbie. Okay. Yeah. So right now they're not recording any drops for Peyton. So his adjusted is the same as his actual completion percentage. He had his average time to throw was 2.82 seconds. That is a lifetime to throw the football. Again, I felt like the quarterbacks were not under much duress. He did show off some impressive scrambling ability. That throwback across his body to hooks down the sideline was really good. Moving toward the sideline, squaring his shoulders up and delivering an accurate ball. How do we feel about how Peyton Thorne did? And, guys, tell fans why they should be more patient with Peyton Thorne, man. He just got this job and he just got here and he's probably still unpacking boxes at his apartment. Peyton Thorne, how do we feel about how he did?
Well, I wanted to say this about Thorne because this needs to be said about any quarterback who is going to be the quarterback. You're going to have a new coach. You're going to have a new offense. Nobody is going to come in here and look like Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes, game 1, drive 1, series 1, like that. To expect that would have been unrealistic. Anybody who got the starting job was going to need some time to get settled in, for the coaches to figure out what works with personnel sets. And then we should start to see some improvement. We should start to see not just the fluidity of the operation of the offense, which we saw, which I still think they're ahead of schedule with that, but we should start to see things that make sense, less miscommunication between quarterback and wide receiver, the correct judgment on should I hand it off or should I keep it or should I pass it. You're going to see those things get better as the season goes on. What we saw from Peyton Thorne was not anything for an Auburn fan to be worried about. What we have seen at quarterback the last 1, 2, 3, 4 years was subpar. We have seen subpar quarterback play at Auburn for 4 straight years. 5 if you count the second year of Jared Stidham's, because I kind of count the second year. But that was mostly Gus. But anyway, now we actually have a head coach and the offensive coordinator who are making an offense that makes sense for the quarterbacks that are running it. This was game 1. It is going to get nothing but better. It should get nothing but better. If it was anybody else running this, I would tell you the exact same thing. If Robbie Ashford had somehow gotten the start and he threw for 10 of 20, I'd be like, hey, calm down. Give him a minute. If Holden Kerner got the starts, like, hey, yeah, if he threw a lot of great passes, I'd be like, hey, this is great. Let's still give him the patience of anybody who's getting control of this ship for the first time and calm down. Maybe people wanted to see some John Elway, Dan Marino efficiency right out of the gate. You weren't going to see that. If that's what you thought you were going to see, you were wrong. Even against UMass, even against an overwhelmed defense, even though their head coach is a good defensive coordinator, you weren't going to see that. This team is going to find itself, and the coaches are going to do their best to get it going. It wasn't going to happen day one. That doesn't mean that Peyton Thorne isn't as good as we think he can be, which I guess best version would be 2 years ago at Michigan State. That guy can still get there. Why not? Game 1, you miss a couple passes or you're misread or miscommunication doesn't mean he's bad, and it doesn't mean he's going to be exactly missing those same things for the rest of the season. Calm down. It was fine. Everything's fine. We're fine.
Okay. We're not asking Peyton Thorne at Auburn to be Shedeur Sanders. We're not asking for him to throw for 500 yards. Yeah. We're asking for him to run the offense. We're asking
turn the ball over.
There was no. You're looking at Pro Football Focus. Were there any turnover worthy plays on the part of Thorne?
The TWPs, zero.
Zero
TWPs.
When has that happened?
It should have been 1, but okay.
Which one?
Yeah,
which one?
Well, they tend
there
to
was a throw
adjust.
there was a throw to VAR that was almost picked.
You did note that.
Oh, the one on the sideline. The one on the sideline.
Yeah. That was.
But my point is, our starting QB used to have several of those.
Yes.
Over the past several years. So to have a questionable 1 or 0 is improvement. Yeah. And so again, there's nothing really to be upset about if you have what you saw yesterday is an improvement over what we have seen. There's no reason to be complaining, especially given the fact that we have a stable of running backs and a bunch of dudes up front to block for him. You just want him to take care of the football, run the offense, and move us up and down the field. That's all you got to ask of your QB. And I think Thorne did that. And I expect for him to have opportunities in the coming weeks as he begins to settle into the playbook, begin to really continue to build on his rapport with his play, with his wide receivers. The receivers are getting open. I think we're going to see improvement there. There's a lot to like about what we saw yesterday. I'm not concerned or alerted as to what I saw in the QB play at all.
Ike, you had noted while we were watching the game that Hugh Freeze was getting into Peyton Thorne at points during the game. Very animated. I think Cole Pinkston had tweeted out that he saw it as well, too. Headset off, screaming, just really letting them know he was unhappy at points with what he saw. What did you think about Peyton Thorne's performance and Hugh Freeze's frustration at times, even with some things that were happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think Peyton Thorne did fine. It wasn't gangbusters, lights out, but it wasn't bad either. I think, for a guy who really just got here, I think that he did okay with the receivers that are still learning the offense. I think he did okay. He really impressed me with his pocket presence. And for a guy who also, it was noted that he was struggling with his deep ball accuracy of recent, the throw to Jay Fair for the touchdown couldn't have been placed any better.
Right.
So, the back shoulder stuff that he was doing with hooks was good. So I liked elements of what I saw from Peyton Thorne, and I saw some places where he could have played better. But overall, I am not going to be upset with the outcome of what we got. And that's not even just about the final score. I'm talking about what he actually did, as you all noted, didn't turn the ball over. There weren't a ton of throws that were head scratchers. There was one kind of corner route thing that he threw early in the game where I was like, I don't think that's where that's supposed to go. Got to end up getting a holding call on Jay Fair on that throw.
Yeah.
And then there was the fade route that they attempted. Well, it wasn't necessarily a fade route, but it was like another one that they tried to throw the Jay Fair that was like inside the 5-yard line, that I was just like, I don't know if that was the best decision in the world. But outside of that, and the one I was noting that was an almost interception, I didn't have any issue with how Peyton Thorne quarterback
missed Fromm too.
Yeah, that's the one where the coach was upset. And
because there was a question about whether the wrong route was thrown or if it was run or whether it was a bad throw. We confirmed that it was a bad throw. And
Hugh Freeze waiting on him.
Hugh Freeze's reaction is what confirmed that for us.
We confirmed in other ways. I'm saying other than that was indeed not the throw that was supposed to be made there. My takeaways here are, Peyton Thorne can play quarterback. I think that he's going to have to get better though, and rapidly as we approach SEC play.
That's fair.
It's going to be, listen, this was UMass, right? And I thought that the schedule set up for them to be able to ease their way in. And as long as he continues to evolve and improve and build on this performance, Auburn has 2 guys who can get the job done. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that it's a good thing to have. I mean, I think a lot of the base has been in this either or mentality about quarterback. And we have a coach who's saying both.
Yeah.
And he's been saying possibly both for months. So I'm settling in for both in some kind of way. And I expect, Robbie to get better at certain things and Thorne to get better at other things. And for Auburn to have 2 quarterbacks who can go out there and do the job. I think that's what you need at this level of football in the SEC. And, Thorne shows why he was a part of an 11-2 squad. But there was a gap that needed to be made up from missing the spring with this football team. Yeah. He gave him the starting job early because he felt like he was pressing. He said this is his coach's words. He felt like he was pressing. I think I saw a tiny bit of that on Saturday. But you can't win in this league without good quarterback play. You need it. And Hugh Freeze has noted that no team is going to let you line up and just do one thing consistently and beat them. You got to be multifaceted as an offense. So hopefully they all continue to improve. Robbie certainly has a lot of things that he can improve on. Thorne is going to improve on some things. And, what you hope is that the quarterback guru gets all the quarterbacks to continue to improve. And then Holden stays ready just in case he's needed for some reason. Right. I was happy to see him get reps out there as well, too. So I thought Peyton Thorne had a serviceable debut on the Plains, and hopefully something that he can look at the tape and then build on that going out to Cal. I know a lot of people expect Auburn to win this game, man, but when you have to you can't take anything for granted when you have to travel across the country and play on the road. So it seems that Cal's quarterback situation may be a little better than some people anticipated. And Auburn
off North Texas yesterday.
Yeah, and Auburn may have to put up some points to win that game. So hopefully we see everybody improve moving into this. Before we get into our next segment, Black Jesus was in the comments. Black Jesus, congratulations. This giveaway was sponsored by GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. Email us business@thewarreport. Get us your t-shirt size and your mailing address. Please do not forget your t-shirt size. We do not follow up. We just send you what we feel like. We promise you it will not fit you. So business@thewarreport. Congratulations on winning this. Guys, let's get into a segment that we're bringing back for the season. What did we see?
What did we see?
I still hate that. Caesar.
Still great.
Let me go later.
You gonna go later? Okay, I'm not going first. So I'm from Brian up here first. Brian, what did we see?
You know what I saw? I saw while making predictions for the weekend, Blake from the Uptempo podcast, shout out to Blake of the Uptempo podcast, we made our predictions and we did some homering for South Carolina, right?
Mm-hmm.
Said that Beamer had some more talent. And while simultaneously giving credit to the best quarterback in the country, Drake May, and also the fact that Chip Lindsey was out there calling plays now at North Carolina. Shout out to North Carolina for proving us wrong. Spencer Rattler actually had a hell of a day. He did not play poorly, but he didn't score any touchdowns throwing either. He didn't throw for any touchdowns. A lot of yards, no touchdowns. North Carolina's defense, much maligned. Gene Chizik got there last year, year one, yesterday. They held South Carolina to a total of 3 yards rushing. That includes a lot of quarterback pressure and sacks, tackles for loss. That is amazing. An SEC school did not rush for a net of 50 yards. They didn't rush for a net of 20 yards. They didn't rush for a net of 10 yards. North Carolina's defense dominated in the trenches. Amazing. Credit to Gene Chizik. Credit to Chip Lindsey, to AU alum as far as, staff goes. And credit to Drake May. He threw 2 touchdowns. He also threw two INTs. It was not a perfect day. But the passes he was making, that's the best quarterback in the nation. I know everybody likes Caleb Williams because he does a lot of juking. There's all that stat padding out there in the Pac-12.
Fair enough.
Drake May is the best quarterback in the country. It is not particularly close. Shout out to UNC.
All right. That is one man's opinion about Drake May. Ike.
It's the correct opinion about Drake May. Drake May is the truth.
What say you?
I'm going to take this opportunity to say Colorado surprised me.
Yeah.
All right. Because I did not think that they could put it together this quickly. I don't think anybody mistakes TCU for some defensive juggernaut. Matter of fact, both of those defenses looked like trash yesterday, other than Travis Hunter, who I will get to in just a minute. But going out there, putting up 45 points in your first action as a Power 5 program coach with Coach Deion Sanders. Shadur Sanders looking efficient yesterday, making a lot of good decisions, a lot of good throws, decisive with the football. Was impressed by him. He was a guy who I was wondering whether or not it would translate up. Now, again, nobody's mistaken TCU as some defensive juggernaut, and we'll see what happens moving forward. But if anybody sits here today and retroactively tries to pretend as if they predicted Colorado to come out here and shock people in this game, you're being disingenuous. Most people thought TCU was going to handle business in this game, and Colorado might make a couple of plays here and there, myself included. I did not think Colorado was going to win that game. Putting up 45 points and making crucial stops, you got to give them props. Now, let's get to the man, Travis Hunter, playing both sides of the ball.
Oh, man.
And doing it. He is one of the best guy. When the ball is in the air in his vicinity, Travis Hunter is amazing. That his ball skills are impeccable. Defensively and offensively, Travis Hunter had an amazing football game. He impacted that game so much that it is amazing he played the number of snaps that he did and still was able to make big plays late in the game. I don't know what that man is on, but Travis Hunter is different, bro. He's different. I know it's just game one, but he's been making plays like this since high school. So at some point in time, you have to say it's kind of just who he is.
Yeah.
Travis Hunter is an amazing football player. Congrats to Colorado. Congrats to Coach Prime for going out there, winning their first game. Looking forward to seeing what they have for the rest of that schedule.
All right.
I'll go next. Florida's bad. Florida's bad. That was a winnable game against Utah. That was a winnable game. And it wasn't that Florida wasn't moving the ball. They were moving the ball. But you would get in third and short, and then you would have a procedure issue.
Yeah.
You would have a false start.
Yeah.
You would get in the red zone. You would be moving up. Mertz was actually looking like you actually had a QB for a second, and then you would get in the red zone and shoot yourself in the foot. Utah didn't even have, they were still having tryouts at QB, it seemed. They beat you soundly. And this is a game you needed because in 2 weeks, Tennessee is coming to town. And you got Kentucky, which is in a pushover. You have Georgia. You have LSU. You have Florida State. You needed this game, especially in year 2 of the Napier era. You needed this game. You at the very least needed to show that you could field a competitive team that can go against these teams I just named. And you got washed. Game 1. Y'all are bad.
Yeah, didn't look good. Not gonna lie.
Man. Y'all are this is I hate to put this on Florida because I don't want people to go through what Auburn this kind of reeks of last year for us.
Yeah, it does.
Well, we came out the gate not looking good. They say the biggest improvements you make are from week 1 to week 2. Well, hey, McNeese is coming into town. You better look better against them because you need that game. I don't see how you fix this in time for Tennessee because they don't have issues on offense. They don't. You need to figure this out and fast, or else Napier, that impressive recruiting class you got, there's going to be some negative. Probably courtesy of Hugh Freeze and his dogs.
Yeah, he's coming. The rating party's coming.
You better clean this up and fix this fast, or it's gonna get bad for you.
Yeah.
Hashtag fired. Look, guys, I'm gonna be quick with mine. The Big 12 is hot garbage. Your conference is terrible. The Pac-12 still doesn't play any pass defense. None. Me, Ike, Brian, Caesar, pick one of us, and we could go throw for 400 yards in the Pac-12 right now.
I couldn't. I got shoulder issues.
You could.
I got shoulder issues.
Even with shoulder issues.
Okay. All right.
They start you with 250 yards. That's how bad their conference is at pass defense. The stats start at 250.
You're gifted 250.
It's terrible. It is not good defensive football. This is why your conference is failing.
We've put a courtesy 250 passing yards on your card. Enjoy your stay, sir.
Right. They're handing out passing yards like Hilton reward points, guys. It's awful. I hate watching that football. I hate that we call that football. I'm sick of it. Make the conference go away.
They did. It's going.
I'm about to say it's been granted.
No more. Now back to the Big 12. The fact that they have big in their title is sacrilege. That conference is bad too. This is why your 2 best teams are leaving you. This is why everybody leaves you. Texas A&M left. Missouri left. Texas gone. Oklahoma, bye-bye. What are you? I don't understand these conferences that have been in existence for so long and they can't figure out how to play football. It's bad football. We've seen a lot of bad football that we're calling exciting. You know, Michael Penix threw for 450 yards or something last night. They don't play defense over there at all. On the West Coast, you don't take football seriously, and then you want us to take you seriously come playoff time. No, sir.
Yeah, you got 5 Heisman contenders in one conference.
Come on, man. Come on. For real. Your conference is garbage, and you and the Big 12 should get together and then go away together. Take a permanent vacation. No more. This is why the super conferences are happening. Because the good schools are tired of carrying the sorry ones. Michael Penix is a Heisman contender? Not really. He threw for 1 million yards last year, and he's on pace to throw for another 1 million yards this year. I like Caleb Williams. I think he's good, but I have to raise an eyebrow at all the yards he's throwing for against these teams. Bo Nix is not the Bo Nix of Auburn. Of course he's not. He's in the pack. It's easier. It's significantly easier for everybody. Eight is the number, guys. 8 quarterbacks threw for 3,000 or more yards in the pack last year. They're on pace for 9 this year. They're on pace for 9 quarterbacks to throw for 3,000 or more yards. At some point, it's not football, man. Take off the pads and put on the flags. Yikes. That's all I had to say about it.
So how do you feel about the Pac-12 and Big 12?
awful football, man. God, what are we doing, bro? Like, really, what are we doing? It's so funny. The Fox was airing Minnesota and Nebraska, and it was really bad football with an exciting ending. All right, we got to kick at the end with it, and I was just like, this is not good football. They tried to pin it as some great defensive struggle, right? Like, it was bad.
It was bad. It was a Minnesota guy who made a touchdown pass where he trailed his back leg and touched his toe. I saw a clip of the route he ran prior. This man was open for a full 2 seconds, heading towards the sideline, please see me and throw me the ball. That spectacular toe touch that he had to do, he wouldn't even have to do it if his quarterback saw him. Quarterback play was abysmal.
Right.
Quarterback play across the Big Ten usually is abysmal, but it was especially abysmal in that game. That was it 13-10?
Yeah.
It was not good.
It was bad. It was bad. Let's get to some comments, guys, before we get out of here. Great conversation. Christian Crawford with the super chat. I don't feel like Hugh gave Robbie or Holden a real chance to win the job. The job was given to Peyton on a platter to stop him from pressing. I don't know that anything was given to him.
Yeah, I don't fully agree with this. The stop him from pressing portion,
he said
there's truth to that because Hugh Freeze actually said those words. I don't know though that Peyton Thorne was given the job. I think that there's just a mix of factors, and we've talked about this a lot already, so I don't want to get back into my points on this, but we've talked about this a lot. There's a mix of factors that determined why Peyton Thorne should be, and I think earned being the starting quarterback for game 1. And Coach Freeze has been adamant that his job is now to keep that job as the starting quarterback.
Yeah.
And whether he does that, he's going to go out there and have to play to prove that he can do that. But I don't dislike the way that we're deploying the quarterbacks right now. So I think he's made the right decision. And until he does something to lose the job, let's just continue to root for them to continue to put up 59 points a game.
Yeah, facts. Listen,
when it's true QB competition, it never ends.
Yeah. That's a fact.
Just like real love. It lasts forever.
Oh, where's the mute button? I'm muting you.
It's rare that B. Will does that. It's rare that B. Will does that. Usually that is Mike's job. And then Mike is looking at you like, bruh.
It's different when you're hosting. I don't have the mental bandwidth to come up with foolishness to say. Today.
That was
yeah, that was special. I ain't gonna lie. Riley Mobley says, I thought we were going to see Hank Brown for a second. I mean, they were getting quarterbacks in. I was happy to see Holden, honestly. Yeah. I just thought Holden needed right after game 1, Hugh Freeze gave every quarterback 1 through 3 a reason to stay engaged until game 2, and hopefully after game 2 that's still the same feeling there. Bankroll Blake, Brian Harsin and Billy Napier, future HCOC at Baylor. Yeah.
We didn't talk about it, but Texas State beating Baylor was significant yesterday.
At Baylor,
let's not pretend like that.
No, it was.
If you predicted that, then definitely you should be doing some betting somewhere.
The Big 12 is garbage. They're awful.
Yeah.
They're terrible. It's an awful conference.
Yeah.
26-point underdog.
Mm-hmm. You got TJ.
So if you fired Ron Roberts because you were not pleased with the defense,
let's talk about it for a sec. Because I mentioned this when I was talking to somebody yesterday. I was like,
you fired
they got rid of Ron Roberts because
then gave up 42 to Texas State.
Yikes.
Was it Ron Roberts?
Now, to be fair, time out now. We thought TJ, we were clowning because TJ reportedly did not win the starting job at Texas State. Right?
I wasn't clowning him, but
I wasn't.
Yeah, man.
I was clowning him.
Yeah. So on top of that, he found out apparently very soon before start that he was the starter, like very soon. So Texas State had QB1 or QB2 were both SEC guys who were playing the SEC last year. So it's not impossible that you transfer in enough talent to beat a Baylor team, because Baylor had some problems last year. But I'm surprised. I'm surprised that they struggled so bad on defense. Ron Roberts was David Aranda's mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave Aranda is a national championship winning defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't they win the Big
Ron
12?
Roberts had a subliminal tweet last night too.
Did he?
Oh, please let me go.
I gotta go find it. I gotta go find it.
Share that with you guys. Yes,
I gotta go find it.
I heard there may be a subliminal that he sent out yesterday.
I can't wait to see it. I can't wait.
Who did?
Ron Roberts.
I'm endorsing the petty, Ron. I'm here for it, sir.
All I'm saying is not that difficult to figure out. One thing that's happening in we talked a little bit about Prime, right? Prime, what he was able to get them to do so quickly. The offense made sense, and they looked like they had rhythm. They knew what they wanted to do. Shedeur Sanders was operating, but they are not deep. If two guys go down for that team, then they could lose the rest of the games on their schedule. Like, that's how shallow the talent is at Colorado. But you've got a couple of really good players there. You can do it. Baylor hasn't been recruiting that well.
That's the real issue with Baylor is they have not been getting talent over the last 3 seasons in their recruiting classes. He walked into a very talented group, and he has the scheme where, hey, it's going to work if you get the right guys in there. They have not been getting the guys at Baylor the last couple of years, and you're seeing the product on the field decrease significantly because of it.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, shout out to TJ Finley for staying engaged, even though he did not win the job. Again, we talked about this a ton, right? Like, they don't always pick the best guy the first time around. And it is difficult. Projecting talent is difficult, right? And then knowing how a guy will play under the lights is also difficult. So you put a guy out there, it doesn't work. I think it is a cautionary tale for all quarterbacks to keep your mind in a right place, but conquer your own mind. If you sit around dwelling on worst case scenario, you will manifest that thing, I promised you. So if you think I'm never going to get a shot, they're just going to screw me, all this stuff, that's exactly what's going to happen to you, right? Because you will will that into existence. So I shout out to TJ for learning, I think, from his mistakes and staying engaged. I hope that continues for him, as that season goes along. Tumors corner. I'm worried that Peyton didn't put the ball in the end zone inside the red zone. It's like we needed Robbie to put the ball in the end zone. Thoughts? I think that the red zone offense is something that will continue to evolve as the season goes along. They're trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. It felt more to me like they just didn't want to show anything, and it was easy to put Robbie in there and just let him dominate.
Yeah, I mean, in the first drive,
I don't think he got a lot of
Robbie didn't come in and score. That was Damari who scored that touchdown.
Right. Yeah. So I would say I would just caution this line of thinking for right now. I think it's too early to say something like this. Yeah.
There's a lot in our offense we haven't shown.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Again, Fairweather didn't have a single target in this game. We have not even opened a tenth of this playbook yet.
Yeah.
And I think the coaching staff they like where they are right now. Like, they have an advantage because you can't game plan for Auburn at this point. Now that will likely change as the season goes on, but the more they can keep off tape, they will.
Yeah, Cal, if they look at this tape, they're screwed. Because I promise you, they will, if they can line up and just beat Cal the way they did UMass, sure, even better, because that means you don't have to show anything until week 4.
Right.
But ultimately, if you're studying this tape and you think that is what Auburn is, then I think that's a mistake. And I hope that they're smarter than that. Well, I don't hope they're smarter than that. A couple more comments before we get out of here. J-Dog says, Malcolm Johnson Jr. is a great guy. He took the time to take a picture with my 7-year-old son. That meant the world to my son. He is awesome. A great guy. He comes from a really good family. I love his parents. They are great people. And Malcolm, he's going to be a CEO of something someday. right? So football doesn't work out for him. I know life is going to work out for him because he's a great kid. Todd Jordan says he gone and will be back in 3 days.
Friend of Black Jesus.
Yeah.
There was some good Black Jesus jokes that were happening
For
there.
sure. People was like, yeah, Black Jesus is everywhere, including the comments. So,
Steve,
that's great.
Black Jesus is in our hearts. You guys are stupid. Martin, in perfectly perfect day, Peyton Thorne has to slide. I don't want to see him take any big hits. I agree. Stay out of harm's way, man.
He didn't look too fluid on the run. Like, he got the yards he needed to get, but hey, man, get down. Get down.
Yeah. I don't want to see him get hit. I do not want to see him get hit. Devin, nobody going to talk about Ohio State.
I told y'all Ryan Day's been a bum ever since he took over. I'm not shifting off of that.
Okay,
I'm not swaying off of that. He is a bum.
I still have to catch up on a bunch of stuff, but Big Game Boomer put out a list this morning of most
Invalid
fan bases.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, I didn't even see it.
Most upset fan bases, and Ohio State was number 1. And I was like,
I have no idea what happened with Ohio State. Why?
They look real mid.
23-3.
It was Indiana is not a bum team though. Like,
they're not.
You can't put up.
They're
It wasn't.
not.
It's not like they scored 3 or 4 touchdowns and that was it. They scored 2 touchdowns and 3 field goals. And Indiana only scored 3. That means that you got the ball back a lot with all those wide receivers, the great wide receiver core, a wide receiver that could win Heisman. Exactly. Who's the quarterback? Some guy they named last week. I never heard his name before. I have no idea who it is. But Ryan Day's an offensive guy. And you're running a team with the best wide receiver talent in the country, bar none. What are you doing? 23 points? He's been a bum. Didn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Well, this is a prime example of how QB play affects wide receiver play. So if they're still figuring out stuff at the QB position, I think that's a big reason.
Yeah. Devin also says we can't lose now after this rant. Probably on Pac-12 rant. Here.
Yes, that's exactly what he's referring to.
Yeah, they've got to go win. Period. Because I don't want to talk about this. I'm not going to talk about this if we lose. I'm gonna
Mike G took off all week.
Will disappear from YouTube if that happens.
Hilarious.
Great show, guys. Great discussion. Auburn defeats UMass 59-14 in Hugh Freeze's opening debut on the Plains. Before we get out of here, I tell the people what they can do and what they can look out for.
Yeah, you absolutely need to go ahead and join. We appreciate everybody who continues to support us in that way. Watch the film coming. I will let you guys know. It'll probably be tomorrow, but listen, life happens. If it's not, it will definitely be Tuesday. But watch the film happening very soon for us to recap that game. If you want to gift the membership, you can do that right now from the live chat. And we appreciate people who continue to do that. Make sure that you check us out on podcasts. Listen, we say this, and it happens a lot more during football season. There's a lot of stuff that you are not hearing our takes on that are only happening on the podcast. Make sure you go there and make sure you lock in with the rest of the family of networks. That is the College Loop and the Uptempo podcast, as well as Just a Sec podcast now with our broader takes on all of college football. Make sure that you guys also support the people who support the War Report. GoldensCastIron.com.
Yeah.
Use code Get Your Weight Up. There's actually a GoldensCastIron.com/WR now. That's going to be in the live chat. You can go directly there for the War Report page at Goldens. But use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off of the weights and code TWR for $65 off of Fire Pits and Kamado Grills. Jason H just gifted somebody a membership, so congrats to whoever got that free membership from him for a month. And then last but not least, again, HelloFresh, HelloFresh.com/report50 or 50 report for 50% off. Use code 50 report when you place your order. That will get you 50% off and free shipping on your first order there at HelloFresh. We appreciate them.
Guys, share this video. Help us out. Help us get the word out about the War Report at the War Report on all social media platforms. We met a lot of you guys this weekend. Ike and I did. If you see us, walk up, rip your shirt in two, and scream, "Get your weight up." We will walk away and leave you there because that
Ladies, just give us a
Ladies,
handshake.
just give us a handshake.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Hold on. Shout out. I want to make sure we shout out Joey, who won the tickets.
Joey
last
McGee.
time. Yeah, we got a chance to meet him.
That's
We
right.
met a guy named Lincoln out there in the stands. He was really gracious and took a picture with us. AC, we met him. Cam was another person that we met. It was good meeting all of you folks at the game yesterday.
Yeah, I definitely want to give a shout out to our guy that runs Sidelines Auburn as well too. We met him, as well as Sherry Thompson. Sherry Thompson, one of our listeners, part of Auburn Twitter, follows us, been following us for a long time. We appreciate a chance to meet you guys. Guys, hit like and subscribe. Like the video. This helps us with the algorithm so we can continue to grow, get those subscribers, get those Patreon memberships, and bring you even more content. This is a great way to engage with our channel. If you like the firesides, if you like a lot of the things that we're doing with our sponsors, hit like on the video, subscribe to the War Report, encourage your friends to do so as well. At the War Report again on Instagram and Twitter, TW Report on TikTok. We're out of here. We'll be back at you guys with the morning drop. First thing in the morning. Well, not first thing in the morning, but early enough in the morning. And we've got more great content coming this week as Auburn prepares for Cal this weekend. So stay engaged, stay locked in, get your weight up. And as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.